Hello, and here we are again. Welcome to Innovation Culture Coding, the show where I feature independent innovation coaches and consultants and people who work with innovation. And this is a window to the world for independent coaches and consultants. And then I'm really excited to introduce a little later the exciting guest I have today. And we have a very, very interesting topic to dig into. Before we do this, I will just give you the link to the live show page. So heitlandinnovation.com/innovation culture coding. You will find everything about the guests and everything about the others as well. You will find the live stream over there straight away. So you can watch it there. You can watch it in YouTube. You can watch it in Facebook and you can watch it in LinkedIn. And on top of that, you will find within the next couple of days the audio version and as well the clips and show notes all in that space. So head over to heitlandinnovation.com/innovation culture coding. And of course, you will be able to link towards the guest as well. So topic of today is innovate the model, how the travel industry has to change their business model. So that's what we are going to talk. And my guest today is Elena. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jens. So happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to explore this topic together with you. It's really
Likewise.
exciting. So before we go into the case, which we always do, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and what are you doing?
Well, my name is Elena. I'm right now a consultant in regenerative and social impact. I work with businesses that want to walk towards that direction and focused a bit in the travel industry, but also in all other areas. And my background is actually, I'm a business owner myself. I have a company called Authenticities, which is doing social impact travel experiences. So they're like 2-3 hour experiences in different cities. We're in 40 cities around the world, over 150 experiences. And we're also certified B Corporation. So basically, we have had a very extensive audit into all our accounts and how we do business to ensure that we're the best for the world and society. So in that sense, my consulting actually emerges more from a practical point of view and looking to bring people as close and as fast as possible to being also of service to the world and humanity, the way it
Yeah.
should be, I think.
Yes, I agree. Cool. So, and of course, you will find as well the link towards Elena in that show page, heitlandinnovation.com/innovation culture coding. And now I'm putting the banner aside to get the focus properly towards you and the case. So the case is a family-owned hotel chain. And there are, of course, in this time we're live right now, which is mid 2021. They're extremely hit by COVID and the pandemic, and as well over the last year already. So they're looking into, because it's a family-owned hotel chain, they have a couple of hotels in different cities in Europe. They're looking into reinventing themselves, looking into what could be a future business model. How do we structure the future with knowing that maybe there comes another lockdown, maybe there come things going forward. It's really about reinventing themselves. So that's the case, and they are of course engaging you and asking you to help. So let's start off with high level on, they reach out to you. How do you help them to understand what you do and how you could help them?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, well, this is not even a case that would never happen. It's a case that's happened many times, sadly, over this last month. And I think it's also like a great opportunity. And I think this is the first viewpoint that we would like to take. You know, if you zoom out, it's like, are we, what is the hotel industry doing? What is hospitality? What is tourism? What is travel? Who is the traveler? Who is the person? Who's the guest? What do they want, right? And we have seen this industry move from just very basic service level to the experience economy in the last years. You know, people
Mm.
wanting more moments and yeah, like running experiences that actually they can be part of, ways to get more involved in a local culture. And now we're we're asking like what could be the possibility here, and I think a hotel specifically, because they are all but just a place you want to feel a bit at home. Actually, a lot of the big hotels all over, very many of them have the same tagline, like welcome to the place that makes your dreams come true, and you're like, it's still just a 3-star, 4-star hotel. So
Yeah.
how can you differentiate yourself in that space? And I think now the question is really like, as a consumer, as a guest, you are looking to really build a different type of relationship, because now we also know like people want to support our business, people want to support what we're doing. So I think this is where the first question is, how and what are we doing here, and how can we see it as an opportunity for really changing that, and perhaps moving from this experience economy where it was still very much based upon like, what can I get here
Mm.
as a guest, to what relationship and what transformation can happen within this space. So I think that will be the first entry level question, and of course, seeing if the hotel is willing to do that, and then sometimes it's just going back more to the basics and understanding who we are and who. In this case, is this family? What is their unique proposition? What are some things that they can do that no one else can do? And it might be from their family history to perhaps the building itself, to why they're doing what they're doing, that can actually start not only reconnecting them with their own why, but also into how then they can build this connection with their guests.
Yeah. So you literally, let's say, you sit together with them and get an understanding of what they are about, how they are, what's going on, and then as well give them the understanding of the different levels of, hey, there's the experience economy, which is like the trend of the last couple of years already, and the future is going towards relationship, where it's really about how can you build long-term relationships with your guest in a hotel environment or in whatever that,
Mhm.
maybe it's in the future it's not a hotel anymore, they will figure it out, I guess.
Exactly.
So then they get the understanding of what you do. How do you take them then in the next level? So if they're saying like, we are completely open, we want to figure out what the future is, and we are ready to change to be something completely different, how do you take them from this understanding and the willingness to do something towards the future?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for me, it's first looking also at who they want to serve, who their guests are, like, so really like looking who do they want, and it might be different than who they have been working with in the past. So I invite them to think about like, what is the type of guest you want to attract, that you want to have this relationship with, that you want to
Mm,
grow with together. And so that would be a first question for me. Have they already had him, her, the family over as guests before? Do they have concrete examples of who they might be? If not, then we might start an exploration of understanding who they are then, in that sense, if there's not someone. But I
yeah.
always prefer if they already have like a very clear sense of who we are designing for. And I think in this sense, it's also, I mean, in this case, we are designing something for the guest, but my invitation would also be to reconsider how you can be in relationship not only with who your customer is, but also, especially in the hotel industry where there's so many supply chains,
Mm,
who are your providers, who, like, who's this environment around us, and to really build a stronger relationship. So I usually focus on 3 levels, like the relationship of us with ourselves, and in this case the family, like who we are as an identity, what we were talking about before, like our why. Then moving into the relationship with our environment, and that can be like customer, guests, people that we're serving,
mm,
and also then the environment, and then like supply chains, but also the place where we live in, the city or the location where this hotel might be, and to start building from there, and then also looking at what needs are emerging from that place, so that we can design for these connections to happen. And I think this is like a bit also like the opportunity that I think that COVID brings. Like I feel a lot of time we're just managing our business and managing, especially like a lot of companies that I work with, they're always managing for sustainability, you know. So we're just trying to like clean the mess a little bit, or try
Yeah.
to make it a bit better, you know. Or in the hotel industry, you've seen it a lot, like, oh, turn the lights off or not wash the towels. It's not really like, they're like initiatives that are just kind of making better, but it's just managing. And when I like to talk about moving into this kind of like more regenerative culture, it's really like, is how can we design for regeneration, design so that we're actually, our actions are not only causing harm, like not causing harm, but also like doing or planting something good. And I
Yeah.
think this is kind of the mentality. So I like to go into these dimensions as well, to exploring like what steps can, who are we serving, and doing a bit of a stakeholder map, not just beyond our customers, which would be a first point, but also like, who else is here, who else is our place, you know, like who are we in relationship with beyond our customer.
Yeah. So if I understand you right, so you go more first into the understanding of the totality and like where they want to go, where they want to really more the theoretical part, if we call it like this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take them from the theory towards, hey, now we have, let's say they have 10 hotels in different cities across Europe. How do you take them from we feel and we have an understanding of what we want to do to get into action and trying it out?
Yeah, so I mean, so once you have this kind of stakeholder map, you understand the relationships, you can see what opportunities are between them, and then you can start actually ideating some concepts or ideas that you might have. And hopefully, the ideas that the zoom out also gives you perspective. So perhaps so far, right now, we've been using, like, I think space in a hotel is very important, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have a lobby area. A lobby area is to welcome people, to let them come in. But what if that lobby area can become something else? What if it can become a place of interaction for that one city, you know? So the idea would be to like brainstorm some ideas where we can, and this is for me really more the point of innovation, is putting two things together that haven't been there before, right? So
Yeah.
can we try something radical in a lobby area that would serve our guests, that would serve and feed these relationships in a different way? What, for example, if we can have like a local market where, let's say we're like in a rural area, where they can come and just do food exchange there, but also people from the town can come, you know, and we
Yeah.
take advantage of this lobby area, and then you meet locals and whatever. So you can take a couple of these ideas, and what I do is that I take some that are a bit more radical, and so we scale them. We do some that are like, you know, less risk, and also there we look at reputation, brand, whatever it might be, relationship development, and then some that are very radical. And I'd like to start sometimes in the middle, you know, to do one or two prototypes that are kind of in the middle, just so that we feel it's a bit scary enough so that we can take those big changes. But also one that, like, we know that it's like a measured risk, you know. And I
Yeah.
think it's also good to have all these ideas, because you know, like the big thing in these times is like, especially in the hotel industry, you need this resilience, or at least to have ideas of what you could do with space if whatever else might happen in the future, right? So already prototyping these things gives us comfort to know that, oh, a hotel can mean many things. And I think this is the direction where we need to go, like, you know, going back to what is a hotel, like actually, like those questions, more basic, you know, is it just a place
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
hospitality, you know, what that could mean? That could mean hospitality for the town, you know, as well, or whatever else.
That fits perfectly to a question we got. So I'm seeing a marketing about getting back to traveling and seeing friends and family, but not much on health and safety during COVID. Is this a priority for the hotel industry? And that comes from Jeff Parks, a good friend of mine. Hey, Jeff to Canada, by the way.
Well, I mean, I think from what I've seen, and this is mainly from me traveling as well, I do think that there has been certain measures that hotels have put into place with, I mean, actually, like in some hotels, very extreme measures of like what cleanliness means. I remember walking into a room this summer, and it really smelled like Clorox, like the
Yeah.
whole room. And I think they actually had that on purpose, so that you felt it was clean. I was like, I think this is part of the experience, to make sure that it's clean. But for sure, like there's been some sort of priority about like traveling. Why are we traveling? Also, like I think that question has been there. Why, like, so I've seen business travel go down quite a bit,
Yeah,
and
huge.
most of the travel happening for visiting friends, family, places that are meaningful and important to us in a way. So that is also like a thing. And so and what that means on health and safety. I mean, from what I've seen this summer, I have seen the hotels taking a step forward and really trying to be there because this is in the best interest of all of them to stay open. But I don't know if there was a specific case that Jeff was thinking about that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because I was last weekend for a longer weekend in Munich, and it was literally inside of Germany, the first travel where I went back into a hotel setting since the pandemic started. And it still feels a little weird. Um,
Hmm.
Going into a hotel and then they're checking if you're vaccinated, all these kind of things, or at least can prove that that you don't have the pandemic or the disease and so on. And then it's like after they have checked, something happened to us. It was like, yeah, but now it's everything is like normal. So it's like, yes, the entrance barrier was very hard. Maybe that's the German way of doing it. And then like afterwards, like you didn't feel it anymore, except on the breakfast where they have that really like the flow of and organized that there's distancing. But then you
Hmm.
go out, which was quite funny for us to see. So they're very strict. Then you go out into the city in Munich, and there was like nothing. Like
Hmm.
in some events, there was like as if there would be no pandemic at all. Like no masks, nothing, no logging in, nothing. And in others, like extreme. It's quite interesting to see as well the differences we face right now. And it's next week I will be in Spain, so it will be interesting to see as well how this is going to be again in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I think also hotels, and that's why, like, going back to the lobby, like, they have these spaces that are the transition spaces, right? So you're outside and now you're inside.
Mm.
So, I mean, so there's always like little rituals that happen anyway when you go into a hotel that they vary from hotel to hotel, what that means, right? There's places they greet you by name, there are places that they make you stand in a line. And I think they've all tried. So I think adding these extra measures are going to be part of that transition. And then what happens once you're in the house, then I don't know. I think it's interesting also to play with it. I mean, not to go. I don't want to go into like health and safety like fully because I'm not an expert into
Yeah.
that theme. But then how you design these experiences so that people feel safe and then you're actually doing your job as well. It can be interesting way to also show commitment and to shift relationship with your guests and partners and people who you're working with.
And I think that's a good point. You started off understanding the relationships and going into that, like just this pandemic measures and how do you take care of that is part of the relationship. So if you are in tune with the guest inside the hotel, of you get a feel, maybe you know where this person comes from, that gives you already an understanding of how they think. Like
Mhm.
if you are in Denmark, Sweden, or Germany, for example, or Spain, it's different because you have experienced the pandemic in a different way than, for example, Portugal.
Mhm.
And I think that gives then, if you're in tune with that and focus on the relationship, that gives you then an opportunity to build the relationship in a different way because you know where they come from, you know how they feel, and what they have experienced over the last year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and also the changes that have happened. I've also seen a lot of hotels and restaurants also being more explicit about who they work with and who they've supported.
Yeah.
So like here, like I've seen some. Well, I think the whole like local, buy local economy stickers have gone up a lot more in businesses, but also like showing like here we support this or we support that, and that is also kind of welcoming you into that kind of family and helping you transition into wherever you come from into the space of what that means. And that gives me yeah, like a different type of feeling and understanding.
Yeah. Let's iterate back because we have a couple of it looks like new listeners. So we are deconstructing a case. It's a family-owned hotel chain. They have a couple of hotels in different cities in Europe, and they're of course hit by the pandemic, and they're now looking into reinventing themselves, and that might even end up in changing the business model, understanding of what it can be. And they hired literally to Elena. I'm not getting that
Elena.
right today. um, Elena.
Perfect.
That's more the Russian version almost. So, so they hired you to to support them in finding that out as an expert. And then you said you will start with understanding of where they are and how they are doing it right now, looking into if they have worked and have been on the trend already on experiences, which a lot of hotels have been over the last years, and then as well look into how far they are already in the relationship. So really looking into the different ways of how they work. So you mentioned you work with the relationships of themselves. Like how do they relate to themselves, to their story, to their understanding, then looking into the environment, which is then more like the immediate guests, of course, but then as well going into the environment of who are the partners, who are the places around them, the people around them, the local community, and then as well the environment from an environmental perspective, sustainability
Mhm.
perspective, to see how all of that works, including supply chain and so on. And
Mhm.
then we looked into and you mentioned regenerative culture and so on, um, in helping them to get there. So now we and we talked about like you literally help them doing prototypes, doing smaller things, and going a little bit towards the extreme side where you kind of they're getting uncomfortable in doing things, because that's the point where it's getting interesting, I guess.
Mhm.
At least for me, it's always the interesting parts when people are getting itchy. It's like, oh, that's might
Yeah.
be a step too fast. Then it's getting interesting because then you're really changing something.
Yeah.
So you do this prototypes in maybe in one hotel, in several hotels of that. How do you bring all of that forward and together for the hotel chain? So if we go towards, if they're deciding to, hey, let's have a look on what the future business model is. And today the business model, if we just go into my understanding of it, is a hotel is renting out space, which means renting out rooms for individuals, families, and so on. So what could be the future from a business model perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in this relationship creations, and that's why I like to have the full map, because then you get ideas of what other things you could be doing. So
Mm,
yes, I can be selling a room and I can check my occupation rate and stress about that. But what if I can fill up the room with someone else or something else or another type of experience altogether? And I think that's where you see some models out there that I find quite interesting and that have worked really well in the pandemic. So one example that I know closer is the Soho House chain, for example. That you look at areas of the hotel that are always underused. It would be like the lobby bar area, the gym. The gym, it's
mm,
always good to have, but not one that you get to that often if you're traveling, right? Because you have other things to do outside and you probably have a local gym at home. So you don't want to spend time in this kind of like very gym there. So this hotel asked, what can I do with these areas? How can I enhance also the experience for our guests, and what can be there? And then they decided to create this kind of membership club for
mm,
creatives, and they're like, okay, let's get local people here, local creative people here. That can hang out at the bar, cafe place, and also consume, by the way, their
yeah.
food and products, and can use the gym and can use the terrace, and at the same time offer the possibility of meeting these travelers who hopefully then there's a meeting of a why, because they're the same type of people and the
Mm,
same type of crowd. And how are we doing that? If we attract creatives, then maybe we are also allowing them to meet, create business opportunities, do something else. What happens, or a movie theater, for example, they also have like the one in Barcelona. So what happens there? There's a pandemic. You can't sell hotel rooms, but you have the members that are there. And even though they weren't allowed to go there during the pandemic, they kept paying their membership fees. and now they're kind of like making it up with points or whatever, so you have this kind of different consistent um, clients. But what I like about that was like the think about the use of space, and also
Yeah.
how that creates a brand and how that creates more value for both sides. So here we're talking about two different business models: a membership model and a traveler model. But of course, these members also travel to other places, and they might prefer to stay in a Soho House somewhere else because of this added value and
Yeah.
the feeling
Yeah.
of community. So then you really start feeling like, and then you make this also a thing that it's something that you charge for, which is being part of this kind of membership. And it's funny because it has a very like prestigious name within the creative industries, but it's not like, it's basically not even that expensive. It's really like, it is like the price of a co-working space. So it's not like that is through price. It's more about value enhancement, to rethink these models. Another hotel chain that I think has done a really good job in rethinking this has been Selena Hotels. They're very predominant in Latin America, and they focus very strongly in the digital nomad community. So instead
Mm.
of looking at selling nightly rate rooms, they look at selling longer term stays and offering a bunch of other experiences, including the co-working spaces and other locations. I think another one that's done a really good job with that has been the student hotel. They're from the Netherlands. That they also have this focus on students that have been or that go study abroad. But
Mm.
how can the students interact also then with locals and entrepreneurs and other things? So they design experiences and offer other adjunct business models with other types of clients, but that they're all adding value to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting in terms of like rethinking, are we just offering rooms, or are we offering experiences for our guests? And what else could be a guest at this point? And it's not just a hotel where people stay, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting. I mean, I'm coming from the business world where I was mainly traveling for business, and there are hotels that are only focused on business travel, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. But I think there are as well a lot of hotels who are for everyone. Like they're kind of serving and trying to serve everyone. But I guess if just with the examples you just said, it's like student hotel. Their niche literally is students.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they welcome others as well, but it's also the student knows what to expect, so
Mm-hmm.
it's very very clear. And I guess if if they have enjoyed staying in a student hotel in one city and they travel to another city and they know there's a student hotel, they will go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same with the Soho hotel house,
Mm-hmm.
where you feel identity in a completely different way than, let's say, I was traveling around the world the last 15 years. Like if I go to this hotel or that hotel, it didn't really matter. But
Mm-hmm.
I would go to a specific hotel if it's specific and it's really giving me extra value than just, hey, a good night's sleep.
Exactly. Exactly. No, and I think this enhancement of community, of identity, of experiences, of possibilities. Going back to the Soho House, they offer experiences like almost every evening of some sort. So
Yeah.
one pain point of a traveler, especially if you're a business traveler, is that you go somewhere, you went to your meeting, you want to do something fun, but maybe you're too tired to meet with people you already know because you already talked all day or whatever it is. Never
Yeah.
happens to me. And then you still want to do something fun. So a movie is a great thing to do, like if it's a different type of movie, or like something like that, that is just offering and it's just feeding on each other. And then you really start creating, you learn. And I think this is the important part also now that we've kind of take this business model and we're like, this is what our customer wants and this is what we're going to offer them. And this is a good fit. Great. And let's sell that.
Hmm.
But really the customer is changing, the guest is changing. Who is this? What do they want now? How can I best serve them now? What are new things? So if you keep this tight relationship, that's why I like seeing business as a relationship, and
Hmm.
why I really think business is more, I see it more every time more closer to design and to the arts than just the science. I mean, management can be a science because we need that creativity, we need that relationship, we need that to get and to continue going. And I think that is what's made businesses now made it or not make it during times of hardship. Like in my business, that we are basically selling travel experiences.
Yeah.
We had already sold experiences for all 2020. And none of our clients ask for money back because they know where this money's going. They know what this business is trying to do, and they are part of the story. So
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
100% of our clients let us keep our money, and I in turn had already paid our providers.
Yeah.
So this is relationship, and this is knowing that that circle becomes actually tighter, and then it's no longer my provider. It's really like they feel like they're part of the same team, and we're ideating things together because I depend on their on what they are offering and how they're offering it, and that they're doing well for me to continue also having the business of what we're doing. And then I'm building this relationship here, but it's really not, and in our case, we're not even like, we try to be as transparent as possible. I mean, even though
Yeah.
like in a way I might be an intermediary, and in travel industry, we're always hiding who's behind what because of the commissions and this and that. But if you're doing things well, and if you're adding value through the chain, then no one feels cheated. No one feels
Yeah.
like there's
Yeah.
a big step here. And I think that's what really like we need to start reconceptualizing a bit, and how we do it and how we add value in every step, so that we're not just kind of expecting things to happen in a way that it is, but that they can evolve as things evolve around us, and that we're quick and emergent also into what's happening, not just reacting, but being proactive towards
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
ideas.
So how do you then? So going back to the case to keep
Hmm.
us in the loop because
Yeah.
we. um. So I can imagine if so. So it's a family hotel chain.
Hmm.
They most probably are slightly conservative. You never know. But
Hmm.
let's say you come with the ideas from or examples from Soho House, Selena hotels, or student hotel, and say, hey, let's test a new business model. Let's figure that out and take one of your hotels in one of the cities and try this. How do you convince them to do that? Because for them it might be like we're giving up everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest blockages, let's say, to trying something out is that they might be like, okay, I'm ready to do it, but what if my clients don't understand it, or
Yeah.
what if my clients don't see it, So I was working with a client who was looking to change all their basically moving more into regenerative practices, so really looking and working with the agricultural farms around them,
Mm,
and then getting that produce into the kitchen. But the menu stays the same, even
mm,
though they're doing all this amazing work in the background. And so one idea was like, why don't we change the menu, to reflect, or at least to say, this food comes from this farm, or this comes from here. Of course, I already wanted to do an experience where I take the guests over there to see all this magic happening, but that
yeah.
was it. So you could just start with these things, and then that serves as a conversation starter, right? Like, where is that, Or you can say this um, chicken has been farmed by Pablo, who's in this town.
Yeah.
Just leave it like that. Pablo's not anybody famous, but at least it's like it can start a conversation. And I think the moment when that fear is past, or it goes away, or you see, or you start getting some feedback from your clients before you've made any huge changes, right? You just said
Yeah.
where the chicken
Yeah.
was coming from. The chicken tastes the same for them. Then you can start creating these linkages and start seeing what it is. And that also gives you feedback to see how then you want to tell that story. Because it's true that you want to, and I think that's the big piece about moving into a transformative economy, is that you want to guide people through the transformation.
Yeah.
They're still gonna, so you can't push them, you can't, like make them have or believe, you can't, like, you have to guide them. And how you guide each person, it's different.
Yeah.
So you just leave different things, and for example, like talking about like even service or sustainability and stuff like that, like most hotels have a certificate of sorts. So if you walk into a hotel lobby, you might see some plaque somewhere in the back
Yeah. Yeah.
saying we are certified, blah, blah. No one knows what that means, not even the receptionist. Because I sometimes ask when I go to hotels, so I'm like, do you know what
Yeah.
that is? They don't know. They don't know what it is. They don't know how they got it. They don't know what they're doing different. There's all this effort in the background that has been money put on the table, and it leads nowhere towards this actual full experience. So I like to like, do changes that are sometimes like just like small, but that actually show what's happening in the background. And a
Mm.
lot of hotels are that, if you look, there's already a lot of nice things that are going on. Maybe the family history, as I was saying before, maybe
Yeah.
bring it more into the forefront, connect with that why, so that I know why this building is here and why that wall is falling apart a little bit, or it's a bright green, that doesn't really match my design style, but I know it's like it used to be the room of whatever,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
changes how I walk in there, how I build that relationship even with the space. So I think that's, I mean, so once the client sees that there's no big risk of losing what they have built, because we have this attachment with what we've created in the past, and that's why
Yeah.
so many times we block change, because we are like, this is something that's mine and that I produced, and you have an attachment to it, so like, if you can kind of move and like see that there's nothing, you're not losing anything, you're just evolving, then it's easier.
Yeah. And I
but
think
but
bridging that to the relationship part you mentioned, it's in the same way important for the hotel chain and the owners, let's say in our case the family, to get their staff understanding what's going on,
Mhm.
to make them part of it, so they experience, like you said, if you go into a hotel and ask them what does that sign mean, and they have no idea, it's not really helping, because if they can't explain it, the guest will definitely not get it.
I'm telling you, do,
So
do it. Huh? Go into a hotel, and because
yeah,
I do it all the time, and they have no idea. Like, no one knows what that is.
no,
They even
I
say like,
was
why does it matter? I'm like, I don't know, because it's hanging there, and I'm curious.
I was part of a guerrilla research we did in Copenhagen with a couple of hotels, and we just went in and said we're students. I'm slightly too old to be a normal student, at least. But I did that with a couple of youngsters, and we just asked them about these topics, and it was
Yeah.
all catered around sustainability. And some chains they have really managed to get it across to everyone, because we asked the person who is like cleaning the floor in the entrance area, and we asked literally everyone who came across us when we entered the hotel, and some have no idea. I fully agree. It's quite interesting to see. But
Yeah.
going back, this relationship piece, I think, is super important as well, from a transformation direction. If you want to transform, let's say, your local hotel in city A or city B, you need to get the local staff involved in it, that they understand as well, like you said, the why behind it, to be able to design this experience that really work. I mean,
Hmm.
just putting it, just saying, hey, we will do this in a different way, it's not happening if you don't get the staff on board, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, of course, if things have been working a certain way, every time you want to create any change, there's inertia, right? There's people who
Yeah.
are like, why do we need? And if there's no clear understanding, that's why it's really hard actually to create any big changes of this sort, unless there's like obviously buy-in from management for sure,
Mm.
at least. But I like to do buy-in from the whole team, or at least like if it's a big hotel, then from the management team, so that they can pass it on. Because if you have one or two people who are hesitant about it, or don't understand why this is happening, or you've never asked them what they think about the hotel. So sometimes, like, actually, like, one of the first exercises I did too is like, I go and I talk to the people and
Yeah.
see, like, and ask them their opinion. Where is this going? What does this hotel mean for you? So that you can bring all those components that maybe nobody ever asked them why
Yeah.
they work there, like, or what's the point of them be there, and really going from all levels, the people who clean the rooms, the people who work in the back of the kitchen, they all need to be part of the thing. And then that way you have that energy, because if you're going to make this big inertia jump, you need
Yeah.
to make this threshold jump, you need as much energy as possible. And and that's why, like, the consulting work is always like so tricky, because I get more excited about the thing, but I know it's not just about my energy or me trying to push that energy to the people. It's like we all have to be in the same jump. So maybe we do a smaller jump, but we do it all together in that sense. And I
Yeah.
think that's where you kind of can see where the things are. And actually, like, and you get a lot of energy also if you offer these possibilities more to the paying clients as well. because many times we're so hesitant, as I was saying before, to kind of open it up. And then when you see that they're on board, it's so much easier and everyone gets motivated as well, you know?
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
you have some guests that will be super on board with it. Some people who will complain that they want the chicken without knowing that it comes from Pablo. And you have a bit of everything, the spectrum. But then that is the question: what type of client do you want to attract next? You know, do you want to keep investing your energies in serving this client that, you know, tomorrow they're going to drop you and go to somewhere else because you don't have a relationship with them? Or do you want to invest your time and energy in actually attracting the guests that do care where your chicken comes from, and the fact that you're making an effort to buy it locally and help Pablo whenever he's in need, you know? So this is also like the reflection there. And that really also changes who I choose to go to. And not to say that, I mean, sometimes I want to be anonymous and I just go to a big hotel chain where I'm just a number and I'm happy because I'm in that mood. I don't want to talk to anyone when I get there, you know.
Yeah.
But other times, no. Like this summer, I've been traveling a lot with my dogs. So I'm going to hotels that actually accept dogs, and I've sensed the difference of those hotels because they're already more open in essence, right? Because they're allowing other dogs. But it's just like a nice different feel, and then there's like that whole family connection, the connection with the animal, and then there's a whole different experience, right? So that has been also really fun to observe this summer.
Yeah. So I would like to understand how you do that on a local level. So I'm guessing you support them how to do it. It's not that you develop the strategy and like you put it on paper of what they need to do, and then you give it to them and they do it. Do you go really into the infight and saying, how do we do that? Or how do you do that on a local level?
With a client, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, depends on what they want. Normally, I don't take too many clients actually a year because I do like to go and make sure that something gets done and our work doesn't end up in one document or in a PowerPoint or something scarier than that, that like nobody looks like. And then people are like, what was that, you know? So yeah, I like to go and at least walk them through the first prototype. And the first prototype doesn't have to be anything that requires a lot of investment. It can just be like the small changes, as I'm saying, like in print even of a menu, or just understanding, and also having like an action plan, something that they know that because I don't think it's something that you can do all at once unless you're really looking for a cultural rechange immediate, you know, like then that's different. But if you can just have a plan of like things that you can change, and you can see that vision, you can see that path of where you're walking to, then to have that and to be like, hey, you know, whenever you're ready, you do this, and whenever this happens, or whenever you make back this money, then you can invest in this, you know, to just kind of have that vision of what's going forward. So that's kind of how I do it. So I work with a few clients every year and then walk that direction.
Yeah. And I think that's also the beauty you're and I always say that, though, that I guess I don't even need to say that. If you take the big corporate consultancies who have hundreds of thousand employees, and they could be asked from a hotel chain, hey, we are building a new business model, can you help us? And they, of course, they will say yes. But I want to highlight the difference is, like, they will do this only on paper. They might even see Soho House and say, hey, you should copy that business model. But like the approach you have chosen and explained today is so different, because you go into the relationship with your client as well in a different way. You really try to understand them, and you try to look into how do they work with their stuff, what is their history, what is their story, and what makes sense to them as well. Not just, hey, this has worked in Soho House and you should do the same. So
Yeah, I
it's
think, yeah, that for sure. And I think also me being a business owner myself. So
yeah,
actually, a lot of my consulting clients in the travel industry have come because we are their product. So
yeah,
we work, I mean, we are providers for people in the event industry, people that are, you know, selling like larger packages of holidays of like 1 or 2 weeks. And we're just 1 or 2 experiences in that week,
yeah,
to study abroad programs, and we would sell the experiences. And actually, they see how we work as a business, and then they're like, oh, we want to do more of that. So then,
yeah,
and that's a way also, you know, that's why, and like some of these companies are huge companies of 100,000 employees, you know, that
yeah,
are partners of ours. or more, we're like a product of their spectrum of many, 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 many products. But because of the focus of how I build the business and the relationship with them, yeah, we're just one more contract. But
Right.
then we talk about what does social impact means. I talk that I just don't want this to be like a product, but like I want the story to be told to their clients during this experience, which is what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
selling. And they hear it, and then they're like, "Oh, this is a different way." And we do our experience. They see how I work with my providers, and it just that also creates change. So I think for me, one of my DNAs of being consultant is also that I practice what I preach,
Yeah.
and I have a business as well. So in this industry, and I really believe it. I mean, like I do it. I try to do it, and I know that it's not always the easiest. And I know it's not the sometimes like the fastest way to make money, but it is that it just creates a different final result. And as I'm telling you, especially in times of need, I've seen it. So this is a lot also how we go in, because I really I really practice what I do. That's why we go to the extent of being part of the B Corporation. So I've
Yeah.
done that with my business also. So that is also a different way to approach, especially the larger organizations that are doing change. And I really think, because I don't see us like as this, being like my business is small in the travel industry, but I think we're all like little levers, So if you want to create big change, and for me, it's important, and I know my goal is to work towards the conversation of how could the travel industry, how can, even if you're a small hotel, how can you be part of this conversation of what we can do differently in the world? And your part, then it's much easier and better played than if you're actually trying to change a lot of things. And if you just
Yeah.
do your thing correctly, you're going to transform. And we have had stories of this, like, for example, one client coming in, we don't know who the clients are, right? Many times there could be people with a lot of money and with their own businesses. And
Yeah.
we've had them come in and just become part of the story just because they were part of an experience, just because they stayed at your hotel one night, and that's why it's like having that perspective as well as like what are we trying to change. And I think the travel industry specifically, because of the capacity it has to move us out of our comfort zone already, to change
Yeah.
us and give us a different perspective, has all the possibilities for really making so much more of what life can be in general. That we sometimes don't take advantage of it as in this, and I think it's I take it as a big responsibility. When I have 2 hours of your one weekend in Barcelona,
Yeah.
I know it's your 48 hours with your family, with your wife, maybe with your parents, whatever it might be. I have 2 hours of your time. I take this seriously, because
Yeah.
it's your holiday, it's your time, and I want you to like see a different world, see a different vision, and have a good time, obviously. But but when you see it like that, not just like, oh, I'm just gonna do another experience for these guys who are
Yeah.
coming this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
You take it like, guys, it's like these are people traveling to see your city, to open up. We all want to have fun in this together, and why not? So I see it like that changes also then how you can do your work and how you do life, I think, in general. But
Yeah, love that. So one question I always, because we are now going towards the end of the live stream, one question I always ask everyone who is joining me on this show is, can you describe your dream client?
my dream consulting client.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I haven't thought about that one. I think it's someone who wants to and has the energy to do to really do changes, and to see them through, and that is more action oriented than just thought oriented. And it's willing to take a bit of a risk, and open to understanding their why, and then their organization why, and this bigger why. And I think this is when we really start talking about seeing a view of systemic change, which I don't think we talk enough about in business. But it's really like, what is understanding that lever of what can do that change. And I think once you find it, once you see it for yourself, or you see it for your business, you're able to create so much transformation. So I think people that are open, or at least are curious about that, would be my perfect dream client, because then we can really go into an exploration of what change can mean and be open to what emerges as well. I never go into a client with a solution or with a copy paste thing that I've done in the past, because I think everything is so individual, and that and what comes out as well is so dependent of where you are in life, where the hotel is in life, If it's a hotel that's already been there for like 15, 20 years, is a different moment than a hotel that's starting out. So who's working there. So I think someone who's open to seeing what can emerge and is willing to take that step through that threshold is probably my dream client. And that has the vision for a systemic change.
Yeah, that's great. Super. We have made it.
Yes. No more questions have popped up.
No, I've thousands of questions, but I try to keep it inside an hour.
Okay.
So, for anyone who is watching this, I'm just putting up the banner and the website again. If you are interested and just joining, because I see a lot of people are joining or still watching this, if you're interested in learning more about Elena, go to the heitlandinnovation.com/innovation culture coding webpage. We have literally a landing page for Elena there already, where you will find this recording as soon as we stop live broadcasting, not live casting. You will see the recording there. We will add a couple of clips over the next 2 days, and then later on as well the audio, and of course a couple of links and ways of thinking that you can find Elena, and of course you can reach out to her, and that's really what this show is about. So if you have seen yourself in the dream client description, head over to the website, link to Elena, and talk to her. Reach out to her, discuss with her, as well. If you say you don't agree with what you're saying, we're always happy to have discussions. It's really all about how do we do things differently, how do we innovate, and how do we change the world to be a better place. And I think Elena has shown today again in this live show of how you can do that for the travel industry. And in this case, we took a hotel chain, which is family owned. So thank you very much with that, Elena. It was great having you on the show, and really looking forward to see you changing the travel industry.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for inviting me. It's been an honor.
Thank you.